Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving into the world of Enterprise Resource Planning, or ERP for short. Now, just think of these systems as the master blueprint for a whole company. We're talking about something that links everything from finance to manufacturing, all into one seamless system. So, to make sense of it all, we're going to use an analogy. We'll imagine we're building a huge corporate headquarters, right? From the initial sketch to the finished campus. It's going to make these big ideas feel a lot more straightforward, I promise. Right then, first things first. Let's lay the foundation, shall we? We need to get a really clear picture of what an ERP system actually is, and we'll stick with our blueprint analogy to do it. Okay, imagine this. You're on a massive construction project, but the electricians have one set of plans, the plumbers have another, and the builders are working from a third. It'd be total chaos, right? Well, that's kind of what business was like, with every department keeping its own separate records. An ERP system changes all that. It makes sure everyone, and I mean everyone, is working from the very same master plan. You get one single version of the truth for the entire company. So how on earth did we get from what were basically simple sketches to these incredibly complex blueprints we have today? Let's take a little walk through the history of ERP. Honestly, it's a lot like watching a tiny log cabin evolve over decades into this sprawling, high-tech corporate campus. What's so cool here is how each era just bolts on a new, crucial piece. It all kicked off back in the 60s with basic inventory management. That's our little log cabin. Then, in the 70s, that grew into material requirements planning, or MRP. Now we've got a workshop. The 80s brought MRP2, which threw financial planning into the mix, and voila, we've built a factory. And finally, the 90s and 2000s saw it all come together into the fully integrated ERP system, our corporate campus connecting every single department. The 90s also brought a massive change in architecture. You see, the early systems were all based on mainframes. Think of a single, giant skyscraper trying to do everything on its own. Modern ERPs, though, use what's called a client-server model. This is so much more like our campus, right? A whole network of specialized buildings that are all connected and sharing information all the time. Okay, so we've got this amazing state-of-the-art campus blueprint. But, every company is different. So how does a business actually move in and make that standard design work for them and their unique needs? And this, right here, is the absolute turning point in any ERP project. You've got this standard system, but it has to be tailored to fit your company's specific way of doing things. And that leads to some really fundamental make or break decisions. So the very first choice you're going to face is this. Are you going to decorate the space you've been given, or are you going to start knocking down walls? This is the core difference between configuration and customization. Configuration is just like decorating. You're picking things from a pre-approved catalog of options. Things like your company's financial year, your default currency, maybe some reporting formats. You're working inside the lines, using the design the architect intended. It's safe, it's supported, and you know it's going to work perfectly.
Customization, though, well, that's a whole other ballgame. This is a major renovation. You're calling in the builders, you're knocking down walls, maybe you're even adding a whole new wing. It's incredibly powerful, sure, because you can get exactly what you want, but wow, it comes with some serious cost and risk.
And this is where you can really see those trade-offs in black and white. Configuration, low cost, low risk, but you don't get a ton of flexibility. Customization, you get all the flexibility in the world, but it's expensive. And because you're writing brand new code, you run the risk of creating buggy software that can make the whole system unstable. For example, a car manufacturer creating a revolutionary new production line might need to heavily customize their ERP. It's a massive risk, but potentially a massive reward. All right, on to the next big choice. And this one's all about location and ownership. Do you want to build and own your corporate headquarters yourself, managing absolutely everything? Or would you rather just rent a super high-tech, fully serviced suite in a skyscraper that someone else owns and operates? And this brings us right to the deployment decision. It's essentially a choice between going on-premise or moving to the cloud with what's called software as a service, or SaaS. An on-premise system is exactly what it sounds like. You own the land and you own the building. The software is installed locally on your own company's servers. You have total control over your data, your infrastructure, everything. You can see why this is often the choice for places like banks or government agencies, right? They've got super sensitive data and strict rules about where it can be stored. Now, the cloud model, that's like renting that fancy high-tech suite. You just access the software over the internet, and the vendor takes care of all the tricky stuff, the servers, the maintenance, all of it. A fast-growing tech startup would almost definitely go for this. It's so much faster to get started, you can scale up or down easily, and you've just got a predictable monthly payment instead of a massive upfront cost. So let's pull all of these big architectural decisions together and take a look at what the final blueprint for putting an ERP system in place really looks like. So, as we've seen, choosing an ERP isn't just about buying a bit of software off the shelf. It's actually a whole series of really profound architectural decisions about the foundation, the interior design, any renovations, and of course, the location. And these choices are going to define how your business runs for years and years to come. And that leaves us with one final thing to think about. In a world that's changing faster than ever, should a company's core operational blueprint be a solid, permanent fortress that's built to last for decades? Or should it be something way more flexible, more adaptable, and ready for whatever the future decides to throw it at?